Okay, in this practice problem, we're going to look at an old example we used in the previous course, looking at products. So we have a simple page here. Let's run this. Where I can enter a name of a product. I can enter its price. And type in an image URL, hit display, and that product will be displayed here, assuming that the image URL is accurate. So let's look at how this works, and then we'll do some quick debugging. So again, I've got a couple, oops, let's stop this so I can see my properties over here. I've got a couple fields here. I've got a name field called txt name. I've got a price field, txt price, and a URL field. I've got a couple labels over here, one for the name and the price, and also an image button that I display the image URL, image picture. So that's all set up for us. We've got a button here. We're going to use the special product class that we worked at an earlier example in the previous course. This is just a product that has a name, a decimal price, and then a URL and some simple accessor functions for that. So I'm going to create a new product. I'm going to call a constructor here, grabbing the text field's name, grabbing the price, and here's an important thing. I'm converting that to a decimal, and we'll see some errors generated by that, and then grabbing the image. And once I have it in the product, I'm actually then pulling it out of the product and setting the label text and stuff. You'll see in a future example when the assignment why we're doing it a little more complicated, while we're creating a product object and then putting the information out here, because in the assignment we'll actually work more with these products and an array of those. So let's just generate an error. One easy way of generating error is to leave the price blank. It will try to convert that blank price to a value, and it'll get a format exception error here when it's trying to convert this value to one of the areas. So that's one error that we have. There's another error we can have. So this was a format exception. Let's stop this and run it again. Now if we type in a text string here, we can generate a similar error, and we can get a format exception error here also. So let's try to catch that error somehow or another. So again, we're going to, when we click on that button, I always just did that code. Let's go back here. We're going to put in a try catch block here. So I'm going to say try, parentheses, and grab all that text here. Oops, I still have this array list that I don't need here until later. Okay. And then I'm going to say catch and what am I going to catch? I'm going to catch an exception. There. You can actually catch individual exceptions. We're just going to catch all the exceptions right now, and if I don't have anything in here, I will simply ignore the error. So this will work. It's not the best solution, but we'll see that this will work. Oops, I forgot to stop it the last run. I just noticed. Okay, let's try this again. So I can enter a value, put some garbage in as the price, and URL. Again, it doesn't do anything. It'll just ignore that error. The exception is caught. You see a redirect or quick blink, but no error message is displayed. We could also display an error message here. So let's try to do that. So I can just stick in a label down here at the bottom. Let me stop this. Let me bring up and closed out my toolbox to make room for things. And I'm just going to stick a label in here, call it LBL air, and make it blank to start so it doesn't show up. Okay, so I've got this. Now when I are processing my errors, maybe I want to display the error. And so I'm just going to say lbl error.text is enter a number for the price. So now if I run this, and I enter some garbage here, enter URL, it'll put in an error message here. And again, I can move that error message around. So that's one way of handling this. We can also work with validation. So this is catching exceptions. That's one way of doing error handling. The other thing is to do validation. So if I were to leave this blank, I could actually raise catch that validation. And catching validations using validation is a better way of handling this than actually than exceptions. And in general, we shouldn't be just, we have to watch with handling all exceptions here. We might want to handle just specific error exceptions. So let's just do that first, and then we'll jump into validation. So I'm going to catch just a particular type of exception here. So what we've done here is we had just a generic error exception catcher here. I've added another catch before this, a more specific one, and you can stack your catches, putting the more specific ones ahead of the more generic ones. So I'm going to catch, and rather than catching a general exception, I'm just going to catch the format exception here. So I'm going to say format exception because I remember that's what was generated by this particular convert error. And so if I catch that error, I'm going to say enter a number for the price. But if there's some other unknown error occurs, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say unknown error occurs. So now when I run this, it will display this enter a price problem. So if I just leave that blank, it'll say enter a number for the price, because that's the problem here. But if some other error were to occur here, it would jump to that. Again, right now I don't know of another error, otherwise I would be catching it. But it's good to have a generic catch here to handle all other situations we have not planned for. Let's then look at validation and do some validation here. So I'm going to go back to my product page, and I'm going to require this field here actually. So I'm going to bring in my toolbox again. Under the validation stuff, I want a required field validator here. And I'm going to put it again right below the price. We'll worry more about positioning and formatting later on, but I've got it here. And again, I can change the error message. Let me close this. I have a little bit more room here. So I can say price field required. I have to make sure I set the object that's being checked. So that's the control to validate. So I want to put that under price. And I'm just going to change this name. Price. So I can keep track of its name a little better. So now when I run this, if it's filling these other things, so I make sure I'm not getting any errors there. If the price is actually blank, it is going to use the validation saying and say price required. But now if I enter a incorrect value there, it's going to catch it as an exception and say enter a number for the price. And then if I enter a price correctly, it will work and display the image. So here I'm using both a validation and an exception to catch this error. I'm going to have you do something similar in the assignment for this week with a little more complicated version of this problem.